Hello everyone and welcome to today's virtual arena. Joining me is Andrea Melville, the Managing Director of Commercialization and Propositions in the Global Transaction Banking team over at Lloyds Bank. Andrea, thank you so much for joining us today. How have you been? All good?
Very well, thank you. Thanks for having me.
Excellent. Well, yeah, thank you for joining me. And for our viewers, could you give us a bit of background to your role at Lloyds, please?
Yeah, of course. So I'm part of the Lloyds Banking Group leadership team. I work in the commercial bank and I have responsibility for pricing and balance sheet optimization, as well as strategic partnerships and innovation. And I also sit on the board of Finality International, which is creating a way for tokenized cash to be used to settle securities trades. It's creating a digital currency for distributed ledger technology for settlement finality.
Wow. I mean, that never has there been such a better time to be in that role. It must be really, really exciting. So, I mean, if we were to kind of jump back a bit to kind of give a frame of all these new innovations, I mean, there's been incredible demand for front-end services to the point where it almost seems strange for a bank to even consider focusing on the back-end system. So, I mean, what can improving the back-end systems do for a bank or other fintech organizations out there?
Yeah, sure. So, look, I firmly believe you need both. Otherwise, it's like a beautiful car with no engine. So, customers need great digital onboarding, they need great UX, but they also need end-to-end digital processing and automation. We're a really large, multi-channel, full-service bank with a 250-year plus history.
Wow.
We've got multiple systems, and digital transformation of our systems and our services is just a constant for us. But we can't only look at one side of the coin. We need to make sure that we're looking at the front end, but also the systems that sit behind it. And for that, it means with us, it's really around sort of human-centered design. It's around relentless incrementalism. So very, very important that both sides of that coin are looked at.
Yeah, I can imagine, and I love that. That phrase, that relentlessness of how technologies have actually had to progress. I mean, and with that in mind, you've given some hint to what it means for your customers, but what would it mean specifically maybe for your business banking customers?
Yeah, so I mean, for us, customers are at the heart and the start of all of our strategies, our design and our delivery. We've got a human-centered design team, and we've got really strong cultural curiosity, which results in lots of proof of concepts, lots of pilots, and lots of research and lots of listening. We focus really on trying to understand clients' needs and clients' wants, and we're constantly trying to reduce friction, and we're openly evaluating whether or not we would look to buy, build or partner to deliver what we need. And for our customers, this means a number of different things. So I'm also the sponsor of our API lab, and within the API space, we launched our payables API back in 2019. We've now had over £1 billion in payments go through the payables API. I know, it's amazing, isn't it? For us, it's about using the faster payments rails to create, real-time, super fast experiences for our clients. So that means that they can offer their customers something that's fast, easy, and friction-free. You can get a payment through in, less than a second. And being built on the client systems means that, it's reducing failure demand and creating this much better experience for their end clients. We've also launched things like the Asset Finance API, which is allowing us to connect in with asset finance brokers. And again, that's something that is about creating something that's fast, easy, and friction-free. It's getting brokers access to our products much, much faster so that they can then provide a better service to their end clients. And we also launched last week our Trade Tracker API, which is about providing a way that our clients can see what's happening with their trade deals, simple and instantaneous. So, a lot of these transformations are around how we make a better experience for our clients, but also about how they are therefore able to create a better experience for their end customers. And that's the bit that makes it all really very exciting.
That's absolutely brilliant. And, kind of going on, following on from obviously the scale that you've been talking about, financial institutions like Lloyds, you end up owning huge amounts of data on your customers. So, I mean, how can partnering with a fintech really provide kind of a value-added service for your customers, and how can even just working with a fintech enable you to use the data in far more streamlined and better ways?
Yeah, sure. So, I mean, we really like partnering with fintechs. I think that they add a huge amount into the equation. They're obviously bringing in new ideas, much more agile testing, and they can help us improve our cost of delivery, both in terms of time but also pound sterling. And we partner with lots of them. So we've got a live pilot at the moment with a fintech called OneUp, which is about bringing accounting software packages to our customers, because we know, particularly at this moment in time, but always important, but cash flow management and really understanding what's happening in your data is so important. We've also been experimenting with a company called Validus, looking at standardized data sets, because again, you talked about the large volume of data we have, but we've also got a large volume of customers, and we want to make sure that we can bring in their data in a standardized way, and Validus is an enabler for that too. We're also looking at fintechs that do things around synthetic data, data matching, graph technology, all of those things, and it helps us better understand the benefits for customers. It helps us understand the use cases, the risks and the mitigants. And obviously, as a custodian of a substantial amount of data, security, consent and data ethics are always at the front of our minds.
Yeah, I can imagine. And I mean, when you always think of partnering with a fintech, agility comes to mind. You kind of touched on it slightly there. I mean, does partnering improve the agility, or is it one of these things that it can improve the value-added service, but ultimately on the time it takes to onboard the fintech, it might actually not be that quick in general?
So look, we're working to become a much more agile organisation. We use a lot more collaborative tools and innovation methods. About a third of all of our change programs are delivered through agile methodology, and we're on target for that moving up to about 50% by year end. But we have to balance providing new propositions and services and maintaining relationships with those customers that we already have.
Yeah.
So with digital transformation, for us, agile deliveries are all sort of about walking whilst chewing gum. I mentioned before this sort of relentless incrementalism, and that's really important to make sure that we can meet the needs of this sort of sizable customer base whilst also delivering change. And fintechs play a big role in all of that. So they can help us leapfrog in new technologies. They can also help us more in the sort of test and learn approach. And there's obviously a significant aim there around reducing our cost of change, both in terms of time and pound sterling. And so we're partnering and experimenting with new approaches and technologies. And we're always exploring, do we buy, build or partner? Whereas historically, I think we had a preference towards building ourselves. Now we really have a preference towards making sure that we're evaluating all of those options, because I do think that fintechs can help us bring propositions out to our customers much faster than we could beforehand. So, they can improve the process for sure.
Yeah, and improve that relentless incrementalism, which you hear about some of these kind of waterfall kind of product lines now, where you've got to keep releasing every 4 weeks, when maybe we'd have seen a change in banking every 4 years. Now, with that in mind, obviously, you're bringing in an organization that might be small, kind of set up in a kind of mum and pop shop or in a kind of basement. Is there still that inherent risk of bringing in a fintech and partnering? Is it a compliance nightmare, or has the industry grown up? Is it time to look at fintechs in a different light and say, oh, actually, we can onboard easily, quickly. You've done it before. Do we need to look at the way that partnering works in a slightly better light?
Yeah, so I mean, I definitely think that there is a challenge there. I think fintechs can help us be much more agile, and they can help us deliver things much faster. But banking has a sourcing model that really needs to be faced into. There's lots of governance standards, ISO certificates, pen test security standards, all of those things that we need to make sure that we're delivering to. So, so when we're looking at this, partnering, making it more fintech friendly, it's about creating the right rails. So, we have a dedicated team within my world that works with lots of partners, and we are becoming much better experienced at now onboarding those partners. But fintechs can really help us with this too, by making sure that they're more partner ready, by understanding sort of the industry standards held by banks, particularly around security.
Yeah, I can imagine, and kind of speaking of that kind of maintaining compliance, but doing it incrementally. If I could kind of cast a light onto business banking, which I'd almost say has been quite slow to adapt. Maybe over the last 10 years we didn't see much change, but then obviously in the wake of the pandemic we've seen it change dramatically. So I mean, what do you think's changed in business banking, and what are we going to see in the future in that regard?
Well, we've seen rapid responses required from almost every financial services segment. So we have lent out over £9 billion in government-backed lending. There have been 33,000 capital repayment holidays and 20,000 fee-free overdrafts.
Wow.
Some things like upgrading the business banking online lending tool to make sure that we can take advantage of the new government lending schemes and enable faster decision making, but also free up time of the RMs so that they can really be there helping customers. We've also had to redeploy a significant number of colleagues across operation teams to make sure that everything is running smoothly and that we can meet the right demand and that we can strengthen critical processes. And now for us, the next stage is around turning to helping Britain recover. So this is about ensuring we have the right propositions. So things like the international trade portal, which we have, which if you think about this being a time in the market where there's a lot of potential disruption to supply chains, people understanding more around what their options might be for international partnering is really important. But we also need to make sure that we've got the right insight, both for our own internal decisions, but to help businesses too, and to help them manage cash flow, but also to understand this external market, which is constantly evolving.
Yeah, I think that's going to be so critical going forward. And, looking to the future then, what new technologies do you think Lloyds are going to employ, or maybe have even employed, that we consider kind of sci-fi technology, if I want to use that phrase, for instance, like AI, to help businesses in this crisis?
Yeah, so look, we've been fortunate. We've had an investment agenda which has seen £3 billion of an investment program which began in 2018, and we've invested over 2.4 billion so far. And a lot of that technology has gone into things like robotics to automate. So around things like the loan process, where we've improved the time of getting approval into customers. So bounce back loans, for example, the majority of customers receive their funds within 24 hours. We've also been scaling around automation and machine learning. So in 2019, our virtual assistant was managing around 5,000 customer conversations every day, and around 25% of those were handled without needing to be passed to a colleague at all. And that's a trend that's continuing to grow. We're also partnering with Fintech to leverage data and reduce onboarding times. So we've done a proof of concept with a Fintech to try and make sure that we can help RMs and our credit colleagues receive standardised business information to ensure that decision making is much faster.
Yeah, I mean, it's incredible to see all these technologies just kind of suddenly kicking into gear because of that pandemic and really kind of coming into their own. Now, throughout this conversation, you've kind of brought up how critical cash flow is for businesses and how these new technologies can really help businesses. But recently, because the CFO's role and the CIO's role have changed so dramatically in businesses nowadays, what new services and solutions can a bank like Lloyds bring out to just really change the way that these roles continue?
Yeah, I mean, I think with all of this, what we're seeing is an acceleration of trends that were already there in the market, but they're definitely accelerating on the back of what we're seeing at the moment. But to help those sort of CFOs or CIOs, I think there's a big thing around leveraging APIs. So, getting automated key treasury activities such as balance sheet, statement retrieval, sweeping, FX hedging, all of that sort of good stuff together. On the data side, it's around bringing all the data into a single spot. So it could be banking data and accounting data, and those sort of things will create a much more holistic view to help with working capital. And then cash management and payments, we've got a new platform called GEM, which has market-leading capabilities, which is designed for our bigger clients, but that offers a lot of internal analytics. And the idea behind that is that it makes it a much more powerful platform because it's a real aid to decision making. Yeah,
I can imagine. And do you think that, if we were to go on further and talk about kind of financial inclusion and financial openness, do you think that kind of financial visibility is going to be so critical for improving the general welfare of a lot of these businesses in a COVID and post-COVID world.
Yeah, I really do. I think that having access to the right data at the right time can really help businesses and customers as well make better decisions. And we're in a good position to try and provide some of that data, but businesses really need to be looking to use data as a driver of their strategy and decision making.
Yeah, and have you seen greater adoption of these technologies from your customers as a result of the pandemic?
Yeah, so if I look at, we've launched this pilot for Business Finance Assistant, which is an accounting software package. We had planned to roll it out with a soft proof of concept where we were going to sort of take a period of time to build up a customer base that we could make sure that we had everything working beautifully before we did a more significant launch. And it took us no time at all. We weren't really advertising. We weren't out there for any length of time, and we'd already sort of filled our numbers. We did it in about 20% of the time we had anticipated.
Wow.
We're definitely seeing people want help. And I think that the crisis that we're in at the moment is so unique. Nobody's got a point of reference for it. So people are really looking for data and advice to help them guide through and make the best decisions that they possibly can during this period.
Yeah, it's such an incredible change. As you said, there's no point of reference. And it sounds like, people in positions like yourselves are really actually actioning it and jumping in and helping where you can. Every single question I've asked you've given me at least several kind of product offerings that Lloyds have been either working on or looking to roll out in a couple of weeks and months. So I'm really impressed. So, thank you very much for showcasing all these solutions, because it's so critical for a lot of SMEs and even larger organizations now, I'd say.
Oh no, it most definitely is, and I think that the world and the environment is evolving around us, and all organisations, be they large or small, need to be continuously adapting. And we're excited that we've got some solutions that are out there to help customers, particularly at these moments when they need us more than ever.
Definitely. Well, Andrea, thank you so much for joining me and telling me all these brilliant things that you guys have been working on. So I hope you've enjoyed it as well.
Thank you so much, Doug. Thanks for having me. No
worries. Excellent. And to all our viewers as well, you can catch all the rest of the series at www.fintechf.com and, of course, YouTube and LinkedIn. So I'll catch you there and speak with you soon. Bye.